Imagine that you are here for a reason. Something inside you pushed you to search for answers, a desire to understand what you have experienced and realize why those around you behave the way they do. By the end of this video, many things will become clearer. You are a kind, responsive person, always ready to help, support, and lend a shoulder. It seems natural to you to treat people with respect, and you expect the same in return. But why does it sometimes not happen that way at all? Why do those you help suddenly start looking down on you? Why are you ignored, used, or even humiliated? After all, you have done nothing wrong. On the contrary, you have been kind, generous, and sincere. The answer lies deeper than just bad luck or coincidence. It is not an accident. In human psychology, Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, a hidden part of our personality that manifests itself in unexpected, sometimes unpleasant ways. One of these sides is contempt for those who cannot defend their boundaries. People feel this intuitively, even if they do not realize it themselves. Why do they behave this way? When your kindness becomes your calling card, people begin to perceive it not as a virtue, but as a weakness. They get used to your patience. They know that you will not respond with rudeness or demand something in return, and if a person does not have a high level of awareness, they may begin to perceive your kindness as something that is their due and perceive you as a convenient resource. This does not mean that all people are like this, but the more open and selfless you are, the greater the likelihood that someone will decide to take advantage of this. But there is good news. This does not mean that you need to stop being kind. This means that you need to learn to set boundaries, to understand who you should give your energy to and who you should not. Kindness must go hand in hand with self-respect, because only those who respect themselves can earn the genuine respect of others. Today, we will analyze 5 reasons why excessive kindness sometimes leads to a loss of respect, and most importantly, how to protect yourself without betraying your nature. This knowledge will help you preserve your bright nature, but at the same time will stop making you vulnerable to those who do not appreciate others' generosity. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to the Mental DOS channel and Telegram so you do not miss important topics on personal and spiritual growth. Now, let's dive into the heart of the matter. Boundless kindness is often perceived as weakness, because people by their nature tend to test boundaries. If you are always ready to help, never say no. And put other people's needs first, do not be surprised if some start to perceive you as a convenient resource. This does not always happen consciously or out of malice, but the very fact that you do not set limits creates the illusion of your endless availability. In psychology, this is called the effect of exploiting benevolence. If a person does not indicate their boundaries, even without intentional harm, they may begin to take advantage of this. We respect those who know how to protect their space. In social and professional interactions, people value those who clearly define their boundaries, because this demonstrates confidence, self-respect, and inner strength. But those who are always ready to help often end up in a position where their help is perceived as their due. When help becomes too accessible, its value decreases. This is the nature of human perception, but this does not mean that you need to stop being kind or responsive. The question is how to learn to consciously manage your kindness and not give it away indiscriminately. As Carl Jung said, no one can have a clear conscience without knowing their shadow. Your shadow is not just hidden or repressed desires, but also qualities that you do not allow yourself to show: determination, the ability to say no, and the ability to defend personal boundaries. Often, kind people are afraid to set boundaries because they fear losing the goodwill of others. But the paradox is that respect comes not when you please, but when you indicate what is acceptable for you and what is not. People feel confidence, even if they cannot explain why they are attracted to personalities who value themselves. If you do not learn to balance your kindness with boundaries, you will become a convenient opportunity to exploit. The ability to be kind and responsive is a gift, but only in combination with inner resilience and healthy boundaries does it turn into true strength. Sometimes your kindness causes not gratitude, but wariness or even rejection. There are people who simply cannot accept sincere relationships because it forces them to face their own insecurity. Your kindness acts like a mirror, revealing their inability to give and receive selflessly. This is especially difficult for those who are used to seeing hidden motives in everything. For them, your openness is not a sign of generosity of spirit, but a suspicious gesture behind which, in their opinion, lies some calculation. We live in a world where many build emotional armor based on distrust. For such people, sincerity is frightening because it makes them wonder, what if I myself am not capable of such kindness? What if I am wrong to suspect everyone around me? Instead of accepting this opportunity to revise their beliefs, they reject it, choosing contempt, ridicule, or indifference. After all, it is easier to ridicule another's kindness than to admit that it exposes their inner barriers. Some perceive your generosity as a threat because it reminds them of what they themselves are afraid of. Perhaps once in their lives, there were situations when trust led to pain, and now they live with the attitude that the world is a place where the one who does not trust anyone survives. They see kind people and automatically classify them as naive, because otherwise they will have to admit that their own world is full of fear and distrust. Jung said that the shadow is that part of our personality that we refuse to see in ourselves. When someone encounters your kindness, but has long suppressed the ability to trust in themselves, their first reaction is rejection. Your altruism becomes an irritating reminder to them that they have chosen a different path, the path of caution. They project their fears onto you because it is easier than admitting their pain. But it is important to remember that their reaction is not about you, it is about them. Their coldness, ridicule, or even hostility is a defense mechanism. They do not see the real you. They see only a threat to their worldview, and in such moments, your choice is simple. Try to earn their approval, betray your nature, or remain yourself, knowing that not everyone is able to accept sincere kindness. In a world where rigidity and competition are often seen as the only path to success, kindness can look like something unusual, even wrong. We are used to the fact that social norms are built on the principles of mutual benefit, a service for a service. Therefore, when someone acts not according to these rules, not expecting anything in return, this causes an internal conflict in those around them. They do not understand why you are not playing this game, why you are not striving to dominate, manipulate, or achieve profit at any cost. Some may see this as naivety, others as a threat. After all, if there is another path, if it is possible to be kind, generous, and noble, it makes them wonder whether they have spent so many years hiding behind masks, fighting, competing, and proving their strength in vain. When kindness becomes a challenge to habitual social norms, people's reaction can be unpredictable, from skepticism and ridicule to outright rejection. In reality, those who reject sincerity do so not because kindness is alien to them, but because they are not ready to accept it in themselves. Their beliefs are formed by an experience in which vulnerability was punished and trust turned into disappointment. In their world, kindness is not the choice of a strong person, but a weakness for which they will have to pay sooner or later. Carl Jung argued that what we resist continues to control us. When you choose to be sincere in a world where most people wear masks, it does not go unnoticed. Your presence becomes an uncomfortable reminder for those who have hidden their true nature behind a facade of coldness and calculation. Instead of accepting this alternative, it is easier for them to reject it, ridicule it, or avoid it. When you give without asking anything in return, those around you may begin to perceive your generosity as something self-evident. At some point, you find yourself in a role that you never chose, a person who should always be there, always listen, always help. People get used to your care and begin to think that you do not need anything, that your time and energy are endless. They do not even think about the fact that behind their comfort, there may be your fatigue. The more available you are, the less attention is paid to your own needs. This is a vicious circle. Your constant presence becomes the norm, and your absence becomes an unexpected disappointment. This is how a dynamic is formed where you are the source of support, but the question remains, who supports you? When kindness becomes your inherent characteristic, people stop seeing a person with desires, feelings, and fatigue behind it. They simply get used to receiving. But true kindness should not turn into self-sacrifice. The ability to say no is not a sign of egoism, but an act of self-respect. You cannot be a source of support for others if you yourself are on the verge of exhaustion. To say, "I need time for myself," or "I cannot right now," is not a rejection of your nature, but a way to maintain balance. Because if you do not indicate boundaries, if you do not talk about your needs, those around you will ultimately believe that you simply do not have them. Jung said that people see in you what they want to see. If they are used to your endless care, they may not even think that you also need care. But this is not their fault. This is a dynamic that you yourself have helped create. True generosity is not dissolving in others, but the ability to give without losing yourself. It is the ability to help, but not to allow yourself to be used. Because if you sacrifice yourself, you will not become more valuable to them. You will simply become invisible. When something is always available, it ceases to be perceived as valuable. This rule works not only for things, but also for people. If you are always there, always ready to help, always giving yourself without reserve, then those around you may stop noticing your importance. They do not do this out of malice. This is the nature of human perception. When something becomes familiar, it is perceived as something that is one's due. A kind heart is a gift, but only if it does not become something self-evident. Carl Jung said that the balance between light and shadow is the foundation of a harmonious life. If you give yourself without reserve, not knowing the measure, not setting boundaries, kindness ceases to be a source of joy and turns into the cause of your own suffering. And when a person gets tired of giving, but receives nothing in return, resentment begins to arise in them. Your generosity is valued only when it is offered consciously, and not endlessly given out in the expectation that someone will suddenly begin to value it. True altruism is not sacrifice, but a conscious choice of whom and when to help. Do not be afraid to be unavailable. The ability to say no, the ability to retreat and leave time for yourself is not a betrayal of your values, but a way to preserve yourself in this world. People respect not those who are always there and ready to help at any moment, but those who know their worth. Respect comes not from endless availability, but from the ability to prioritize. If your kindness has no boundaries, it becomes a background, part of the landscape, and not something for which they are truly grateful. Have you ever felt that you were taken for granted? How did you learn to set boundaries without losing your kindness? Share your experience in the comments. Your view may help those who are still looking for this balance.